This mini lecture is designed to help you be more successful on not only Unit 6 Assignment 1, but also on all lesson plans that you may be writing, especially in regards to writing lesson plans for your future students. In Unit 6 Assignment 1, you are specifically tasked with designing a lesson for some aspect of grammar. The goal is to teach grammar in context, integrating it into your content area instruction. For most of you, your content area is special education, and so you can think about teaching grammar in a language arts setting, since many of your students on your caseloads will have reading and writing goals on their IEP. Let me show you a template that will help you be more successful with your lesson planning. I'll say right here at the top that you're not required to use this template. I'll place a blank template inside of the course materials for you that you may use. If you choose to use a different template, that's fine with me, but you need to make sure that all of the elements that are in this template are also in your template. As a general overview, let me provide you this piece of information. Oftentimes, when teachers assign writing to students, that's what they do, assign writing to students. We've all been in a class where we've been tasked with writing a paper, writing a 5-paragraph essay, or writing a document. And oftentimes, we have not been told how to write, how to improve, how to practice and implement our skills. Your goal for this assignment is not to assign writing and not to assign grammar. The goal of the assignment is to teach your students how to learn. Teach them some skills. The assignment and assessment part of this assignment is not nearly as important as how you teach your students. Let me show you some places of interest that can help you out. When you begin writing your lesson plan, you should be very specific. The grade level that you have in mind, the topic subject area, and the time frame. If you have a 48-minute class, plan for a 48-minute class. If you have a 90-minute class, plan for a 90-minute class. It's very important that you list the prior content knowledge that you will assume your students have. Again, this is an assignment for class, and I know you don't have real kids sitting in front of you, but there's a certain amount of prior content knowledge that you can assume that a middle school student would have versus a first grade student. Try and be as realistic as possible. My son's entering 3rd grade and he's already learned about nouns, verbs, and adjectives. It will be reasonable for prior content knowledge of the definitions of those to be implemented. The new content knowledge is consistent with the subject or topic area that you will be teaching. The desired results section come from the Colorado Academic Standards. You should list the standard, the concepts, the skills, and the outcomes. And then in the learning plan, which you'll see below, you'll note in parentheses where you address each evidence outcome. This often can be a copy and paste from the Colorado Academic Standards. The section here is designed around essential questions for the content area and essential questions for the global area. The essential questions for the content area come specifically from language arts, specifically from reading, or specifically from writing. Look at the example question here. This content question was designed for a literature class. How does the structure of a text help a reader analyze and comprehend the content of the text? That's a pretty high-level question, but you certainly could be asking your students how understanding the parts of speech could help them diagram a sentence. For example, the essential questions from the global section have more to do with the content's connection from the outside world to your classroom. Oftentimes, good essential questions can be found on the right-hand column in the Colorado Academic Standards. Here are some further examples of global essential questions. Now, in this section of the document, students will understand and students will be able to. The understanding is often seen as much more of a formative assessment. You need to see what your students understand from your lesson versus what they didn't understand so that you can move forward. The students will be able to is a statement that's written specifically for your students, something that gets posted on the board for them or that you put on the top of their assignment so that they know exactly what the expectation is for what it is they're to produce for you. Sometimes that's a worksheet, sometimes it's a piece of writing, sometimes it might be a test. In the assessment section, you must have an assessment for each skill and your students will be able to list. A formative assessment, often these can be informal. Discussion questions, walking around and asking the students how they're doing. Summative assessments are something that you would collect and grade to see if their skills have increased. These could be worksheets or papers. The reflection section can potentially be left blank until after you teach the lesson. In a case like this, where you're lesson planning for pretend students, you could make this into a reflection activity that asks the students to reflect on what they're doing in class and how it will apply to their world later. The learning plan is where the meat of your lesson plan goes. Now remember, your goal for the learning plan is not to assign writing. Your goal is to teach your students. Your goal is not to do an activity and to lead the students in an activity. If a majority of your learning plan is the rules on how to play a game or how to set something up, that's not quite what we're looking for. You need to use information that hooks the students here, and then here is direct instruction. Here is where you will actually provide your students with information before you expect them to use that information. Oftentimes, when we were in high school and in college, the direct instruction piece sounded like a lecture. And you know, lectures aren't always bad if they're kept brief and time appropriate. 5 minutes of direct instruction on specifically what a noun is, what a noun does, and its 5 uses inside of a sentence can be very helpful before you ask your kids to identify nouns on a worksheet. After you direct instruct for your students, you should model what it is you expect them to do with the information. This doesn't mean modeling how to play a game. This is modeling how to apply the information. Check for understanding before you release them to guided practice. Bring them back to a reflection of the skill and then allow them to move into small group practice or individual practice. Make sure that you close your lesson plan with a report back to the whole class, a final check for understanding, and some independent practice. Remember that the learning plan is where the meat of your information goes and should be the longest section inside of your lesson plan. This is not directions on how to play a game. This is not handing out a worksheet. You must teach them information first. You must model for them how to apply that information. And then you must allow them to practice the application of the information inside your classroom. Hopefully, this Universal by Design template will help you to understand how to write a lesson plan. As a final reminder, you're not required to use this actual template itself, but in whatever form you choose to write your lesson plan, make sure that all of these components are there.